In today's show, President Trump responds to Democratic wins. Tom Brady brings his dog back through cloning. And a new study says living the American dream has never been pricier. Plus, holiday air travel could be thrown into chaos. A glowing mystery lights up the Northeast sky. And that adorable polar bear and cat video you saw online, it might not be as cute or real as you think. And here's today's trivia question. Which 15 U.S. states were formed from the Louisiana Purchase? It's Thursday, November 6th. This is the Flyover Podcast. Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm Ayla Brown. Grab that extra cup of coffee because you might need it. Between the news cycle and daylight saving time, my house has been upside down. No one's sleeping or eating on schedule, so if you're in the same boat, we'll get through it together. Let's dive into today's biggest headlines. President Trump is weighing in on Tuesday's election results, calling them a, quote, setback for Republicans. He pointed to two main reasons for the losses: the ongoing government shutdown and the fact that he was not on the ballot. Democrats had a strong night, winning several key races across the country, holding or flipping offices in Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, and New York City. Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill both won their governor's races, while Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo to become New York City's next mayor. President Trump urged Republican leaders to eliminate the Senate filibuster to move legislation forward and end the shutdown. And while he criticized Mamdani's politics, he said he hopes the city succeeds and that he's open to working with the new mayor. Meanwhile, former football superstar Tom Brady just revealed that he's cloned his family's dog. Brady says his family's new pup, Junie, is a clone of their late dog, Lua, created with technology from Colossal Biosciences, a Dallas-based company where he's actually an investor. They used a blood sample collected before Lua's death to create Junie through non-invasive cloning. Brady said it gave his family a second chance with a dog they loved deeply. The U.S. pet cloning industry is largely run by Colossal's subsidiary, Viagen Pets and Equine. Cloning a dog or cat costs around $50,000, while cloning a horse runs about $85,000. Brady also said he hopes this same technology could eventually help preserve endangered species. It's based on the same science that created Dolly the sheep back in the 90s. We all know that Tom Brady has enough money to do something like this, but just for fun, if you had unlimited money, would you clone your pet or yourself? The comment section is open for business. And finally, what does it really cost to live the American dream? A new analysis found that reaching that goal now comes with a lifetime price tag of more than $5 million per household. Retirement savings top the list at about $1.6 million, followed by the major costs of home ownership, raising 2 kids, and owning a car. Experts say that staggering figure is pushing milestones like buying a home and starting a family further out of reach and helping explain record low birth rates and a rising median age for first-time homebuyers. Altogether, the total reflects the combined lifetime expenses for what most people consider a comfortable, middle-class life. You can see this chart in the show notes below. Here's what's happening in politics. The California Republican Party filed a federal lawsuit on Tuesday, challenging the state's new congressional maps, alleging Democrats violated the 14th and 15th Amendments by drawing districts based on race. The maps were approved under Proposition 50, which voters passed last week, and which will apply to the 2026 and 2028 elections. The Supreme Court pressed the Trump administration on Wednesday over its use of emergency powers to impose sweeping tariffs, questioning whether the president exceeded authority under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The case could reshape how broadly presidents can use trade sanctions in the future. Robert Tucker, a fire commissioner for New York City and the first Jewish person to hold that role, resigned Wednesday, one day after Zohran Mamdani was elected mayor, citing concerns over hostility. Tucker, who has led the department for just over a year, indicated he felt the alignment with Mamdani's politics would be difficult. And lastly, Democrat Mary Sheffield was elected mayor of Detroit Tuesday, becoming the first woman to lead the city in its 210-year history. Sheffield previously served as the city's youngest city council president, a role that gave her a strong base heading into the mayoral race. Here are some extra stories for the listeners. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is warning he may, quote, shut the whole airspace down if the government shutdown drags on. The FAA now says it will scale back air traffic by 10% across 40 of the nation's busiest markets, starting tomorrow, a move officials say is needed to keep flights safe. The head of the Air Traffic Controllers Union, Nick Daniels, said, quote, to somehow fathom we could go into a holiday season still in a government shutdown, I can't even begin to predict what the impacts will be across this country. 3-hour TSA wait lines will be the least of our worries, he added, emphasizing the strain on already short-staffed control towers, with the industry currently short by an estimated 2,000 to 3,000 controllers. Residents across the Northeast saw, well, kind of a strange glowing swirl in the sky Tuesday night. And no, it was not an alien visit. The mysterious light was actually caused by the launch of a European Space Agency weather satellite from French Guiana, over 2,000 miles away. As the rocket vented fuel high in the atmosphere, it created a bright S-shaped pattern visible from Rhode Island to New York. Photos of the glowing orb quickly flooded social media as people tried to make sense of the sight. By the way, they're in the show notes if you want to see them. And a new study warns that the flood of AI-generated wildlife videos showing things like raccoons on trampolines or polar bears befriending cats may be doing real harm to conservation efforts. Researchers found that these fake clips often depict impossible animal behaviors and environments, creating confusion about how wildlife actually lives. Scientists say such content especially misleads children, making them believe exotic species are common or friendly. The researchers urge better media literacy and environmental education to counter these cute but corrosive distortions of nature. I guess I have to tell my son to stop watching the movie Ratatouille then. Still to come, Hooters revamps its image, Cornell scientists solve the onion tears mystery, and a French groom finds a bold way to pay for his big wedding day. But first, thank you so much to our sponsor, Native Path Collagen. If you didn't know, it's made with only type 1 and 3 collagen, the two types that make up about 90% of the collagen in our bodies. It supports your skin, your hair, your nails, your joints, and gut without unnecessary fillers. And it's a single ingredient formula, third-party tested for purity and completely flavorless. So do what I do, mix it in your coffee every single day, or you might like to put it in your smoothies, soups, really anything. Native Path offers amazing bundle deals, and with this special link, you can grab 3 or 6 packs at literally a fraction of the price of other brands. How do I know? Because I've been to the grocery store and seen how expensive these things are. And then I have actually purchased Native Path Collagen for my home, and I use it every single day. There's also a 365-day no-risk guarantee. So go to getnativepathcollagen.com/flyover to get yours today, or click the link to purchase in the show notes below. In finance, private companies added 42,000 jobs in October, a solid rebound after losing 29,000 in September and nearly double what analysts had expected. Most of those new jobs came from larger companies, while smaller businesses actually continued to lose workers. Warner Brothers Discovery says it will reveal its sales plans by mid to late December. The company is weighing several options, including splitting into two separate entities, selling off specific assets, or even putting the entire company up for sale. And the original founders of Hooters have brought the restaurant chain back. They say they plan to return the brand to its local beach hangout roots, which means longer shorts for the waitresses, an updated menu, and no more bikini nights. Here's how the stocks did yesterday. The Nasdaq rose about 0.2%, while the S&P 500 added a little more than 0.33%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed almost 0.5%. Bitcoin had a strong day, jumping just over 2% to around 103,800, and gold also ticked up higher, nearly 1% to $3,982 an ounce. The day's big mover was Lemonade Incorporated. Shares of the digital insurance company surged 34% after reporting third quarter earnings that beat Wall Street expectations and raising its outlook for the rest of the year. In sports, the PGA is drawing a hard line when it comes to LIV Golf. The organization reaffirmed this week that any current PGA Tour member who competes in the upcoming LIV event in Florida will face disciplinary action. And for non-tour members, the PGA says anyone who plays in the event will be banned from all PGA Tour tournaments for a full year. In college basketball, Duke freshman Cam Boozer had a comeback performance Tuesday night. After being called out by his coach at halftime for playing soft, Boozer responded with 15 points in the second half, helping the Blue Devils turn a 1-point deficit into a 75-60 win. And in tennis, Venus Williams isn't slowing down. She announced she'll kick off her 33rd straight year on tour this January at the ASB Classic in New Zealand. Williams first entered professional play in 1994 and has competed in at least 2 tournaments every single year since. Good for her. In science and technology, NASA is facing some pressure to release new images of Comet 3I Atlas. That's an interstellar object captured by a Mars orbiter back in early October. The data release has been delayed because of the ongoing government shutdown, which has fueled plenty of speculation online. But scientists are emphasizing there's no evidence of anything unusual. And if you've ever teared up cutting onions, I sure have, Cornell researchers might have just found our solution. They discovered that using a sharp knife and slicing slowly drastically reduces the stinging mist that onions give off. Turns out all those old tricks like chilling the onions, or I heard one once that if you put a towel on your shoulder, but it's a wet towel, apparently that helps too. But maybe that's an old wives' tale as well. Apparently those don't help and might make your eyes even worse. So instead, just cut slowly. You're welcome. Here are some additional stories to impress someone with today. 3 brothers in Northern California made a pretty wild discovery while cleaning out their late mother's attic. A pristine copy of Superman #1 from 1939. It had been sitting under old newspapers for decades and could now sell for over $6 million at auction, potentially becoming the most valuable comic book ever sold. See it in today's show notes. In Japan, troops have been deployed to the Akita prefecture as bear attacks hit record levels. 13 people have been killed and about 100 injured since April. Soldiers armed with bear spray and shields are now helping local authorities capture and relocate the animals after sightings near supermarkets, schools, and even bus stops. The world's oldest living and longest married couple credits their 83-year union to love, curiosity, and a daily beer or glass of wine. Let that be something to remember if you're in a relationship. And in France, one groom found a creative way to fund his wedding by selling ad space on his tuxedo. What are we, on a professional soccer team? The entrepreneur raised $10,000 by partnering with with 26 small businesses turning down offers from big corporations so he could keep it personal. I'm sorry. I wasn't going to link this in the show notes, but it's just so silly. If you want to see what his tuxedo actually looks like, head to the show notes below. I'm still laughing at the tuxedo. I don't know why. Am I in a silly mood today? I guess so. It must be a Thursday. The week is almost over. Here's the results of yesterday's poll question. Are you afraid of spiders? 43% said no. Oh my gosh. 29% said yes, and 28% said if there's 100,000 of them. Well, yeah, duh. If you missed yesterday's show, you will remember the conversation we had about spiders in the cave. Yuck. Thanks to everyone who voted. Here's today's poll question. Is it too early for Christmas music? Yes or no? Not for me. I have 4 Christmas shows with my band, and I've had to start listening to Christmas songs since October because there's so many lyrics to memorize. I'm sure I'm one of the very few, though, so I don't know. Prove me wrong. I'm sure I am too early. You can vote in the show notes below, and I'll read the answers in tomorrow's Friday episode. It's beginning to look... I'm just kidding. Here's the trivia. Which 15 U.S. states were formed from the Louisiana Purchase? Well, here's a little history. On October 20th, 1803, the U.S. Senate approved the ratification of a treaty with France that secured the purchase of the Louisiana Territory. This historic agreement effectively doubled the size of the nation, adding land that would eventually form 15 states. Are you ready for them? Here they are. Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, and portions of Minnesota, New Mexico, Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. All right, everyone, that is it for your Flyover podcast. Just want to say thank you to those who watch us on YouTube and listen on all of the other podcast apps. Our numbers are growing exponentially, and the team here at the Flyover is just very excited about it. Tomorrow is Friday, so I hope you have a great end of your work week. Until then, thanks for flying with us.